Greetings, shalom everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made this delicious pumpkin pie entirely from scratch. We're going to start by taking our pumpkin, chopping it up and getting it in the oven to roast. And I know a lot of people use pumpkin puree already in the can, so if you have that you can use it. But I've always wanted to make my own pumpkin puree, and we already had a pumpkin, so I felt this would be the perfect opportunity. And as you see here, I just cut it in half, and now I'm scooping out all of the guts and the seeds. Whenever I'm working with any sort of squash, gourd, melon, I like to save the seeds, and I'll usually process the seeds on a different day where I wash them and dry them. I actually want to make a separate video of how I process these particular seeds because pumpkin seeds are good. I just have to learn how to roast them and season them properly. So if you guys would like a pumpkin seed recipe, please just let me know in the comments below. So basically here I am just cleaning out the inside of the pumpkins, and then after this we're going to chop up the pumpkins into smaller pieces and then cut the skin off. And this is just a friendly reminder that pumpkins are not just festive and used for decoration. They're actually loaded with minerals and nutrients. Pumpkin is rich in vitamins A, C, and vitamin E. They're also rich in magnesium and potassium, so good for healing the nervous system, good for digestive issues. The magnesium and high quantities of potassium also help to regulate the nervous system, but it also helps with mental stress, relaxation. That's why pumpkin spice things are considered like a comfort flavor, if you will. So as you can see here, I'm just continuing breaking down this pumpkin. It was really big, so this probably took the longest of this entire process. And after the pumpkin has the skin removed and it's chopped up into, I guess, medium to small pieces, you want to roast it for about 40 minutes to an hour, or at least until the pumpkin is fork tender. So next we're going to work on the pumpkin pie filling, and this is just a combination of the pumpkin puree, some eggs, some nutmeg, and I have the full recipe listed in the description if you guys want to check it out there. Now, I really didn't think this part through. I really didn't need to use a blender for this part. You don't need one. I really could have just mashed and mixed all of this together. I really wasn't thinking, but this is what I did. I blended it up in my blender, but you don't need to do that. If you don't have one, you can certainly omit this step. So we're going to give that pumpkin pie filling a nice mix and set it to the side while we work on our pie crust. And here we are getting started on our homemade pie crust. I'm going to make a little bit extra to store in the freezer so that we have some on hand. And I'm just trying to think of any tips I can tell you. When you're making pie crust, use cold butter and cold water. And the reason for that is because the butter will melt fairly quickly with the warm temperature of your hands, and that makes the dough sticky. So when the butter is cold when you start, it's a little easier to work with. And you can follow the recipe I have listed in the description, but most of my recipes are just eyeballed. I'm big on texture. I like my pie crust to be a little moist, not too moist, a little dry, not too dry. So just a nice, firm, but moist mixture. That's how I like my crust to come out. I'm going to store the leftover pie crust into these freezer Ziploc containers and label it. So now that we have our pie crust ready, it's time to roll it out, get it in that pie pan, and get our pie assembled. Now when you're rolling out your pie crust, you can add some flour to the top and the bottom just to keep it from sticking to the rolling pin and from sticking to, whatever you're rolling it on. And at this point, you'll see what I mean by why you should use cold butter, because this is where it starts to melt and then it'll start sticking. And with the crust, you don't really want that. You want it to maintain its structure, as you can see when I lift it up. I'm gonna get it into the round pan and just structure the sides, make it a little design, make it pretty, trim it, and just have a ruffle effect going on. That's what I'm doing here. This part was a little harder than I thought, not gonna lie. I think I had a lot of crust, so I didn't expect for it to keep folding in on itself, but I just make it work. I just pushed it over to the sides, and yeah, this was not gonna stress me out today. The extra that I had left over from the trimming, I just put at the bottom just to not waste crust, We're gonna go ahead and add our pumpkin pie filling to the crust, and then we're gonna throw this baby in the oven. I'm just adding some sort of design style just to see how it's gonna look when it bakes, but you don't have to do this. We're gonna bake this pie for about 45 minutes on 350. It may take a little longer depending on the consistency of your pie filling, the consistency of your crust, but just go based off your own discretion. And here we have it, our homemade, fresh, pureed pumpkin pie is done. All praises to the Most High. This is all natural, made entirely from scratch, and super easy to make at that. As always, I thank you for being here. I thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I hope you learned something from this one, and until the next time, I'll see you in the next video. Shalom, family, and much love.